It's tabletop time! I'm Dave.
I'm Jazza. We're going to surprise and delight you by turning these cake bases into terrain, little biomes, little modules, cake-based biomes. You have to eat the cake to get the base.
You have to eat the cake to get the base. Yep.
It's a lot of work, but it's work I'm willing to do.
I don't know how you...
Which ones are you having?
I didn't want this one. And then I remembered that it's the only one I can eat because it's gluten-free.
Wait, these are all...
They're yours.
Jazz would be getting thick.
It's 10 in the morning, I don't want to eat cake. I don't want to do it. I've never not wanted to eat cake more in my life.
Shut up and eat the goddamn cake.
It's a cheesecake, it's so thick. Oh my god.
I started off by doing the most vanilla base possible, but actually I did want to amp it up and make it nice and luscious. At the end of the day, ever since getting back into the hobby, I'm really liking texture and adding variety, and it was really fun to just jump into this and create some layering. So for the base of this, I used a mixture of like that, what's the stuff?
Sculptor-mold.
Sculptor-mold. That Sculptor-mold water pasty stuff. And as you'll notice, I mixed in a bit of color in with that Sculptor-mold stuff to help it just have a little bit more tonal mid-toneness. That's the official term. So that when I came back with the first layer of paint and glue all mixed together, then I had a really solid, already colored in base tone that I could just slap some grass on. And the hero of all of our bases, frankly, and the sponsor of this video is Gamers Grass. Whether you're working on personal bases for small miniatures or mini dioramas or little biomes like we are here, or even full-fledged tables, adding some flowers or some texture with tufts that Gamers Grass sell make a huge difference to making it pop with very little effort. They're super detailed and you get such a huge variety. So for this first base, I started off with a mix of just like a few different grassy tufts and shrubs and some yellow flowers, but they've actually just released a new range of a huge different variety of flowers. So after I went through and added my most vanilla covering, I thought I'd explore and see what flower beds I could expand on, and I picked a sort of purple and pink, and all throughout the base put a whole bunch of color throughout, and you can see how so quickly it makes the entire project pop. So you can check out Gamers Grass products. We'll obviously put the link in the description, and you'll be able to see a small variety of the huge variety they produce, but we use quite a few different types in this video. But aside from having their online availability, you can check out their online brick and mortar store finder.
Gamers Grass are fantastic for another reason, because they support local brick and mortar stores that stock their products by having a store finder that allows you to find the closest stockist to where you live.
It's amazing that they, as a company, are so vocally supportive of the local gaming store. So go check out Gamers Grass's website and see if you can find Gamers Grass in a local hobby store near you. And if you have a local hobby store and they don't stock Gamers Grass, go speak to them and get them to check out Gamers Grass products. They're awesome to talk to. The products are amazing for a variety of hobbies and of scopes. And as you can see, just by adding just that variety of texture and color to my luscious green landscape, I really feel so happy with how it came together in the end. So go check them out with the link in the description to check out all their tufts and all the little things you can use on your big projects. But at the end of the day, they can also make it easy by getting their battle-ready bases. You can get either unpainted or completely built with tufts and fully textured and painted and ready to just put a model on top of. So if you just refuse to actually want to make bases, you don't have to, and you can still have an amazing base. Go check it out.
So my order of the day was on trying some really interesting new ideas with my cake-based biomes to play with tools that we have in the amazing new Tabletop Time studio and really get a handle on them. One of those was the rollers for putty. So I made a urban base just using some concrete or asphalt mix for the road, but then I also used foam board to build up the sidewalks and sculpted on some putty, and then used the rollers to put a pavement texture down either side of the road. Looking a bit plain, I thought it was important to add an urban rubble feel so we could get a nice base for any kind of World War II, Historia, or even modern into sci-fi displays that we want to do. So I thought I'd smack down a whole bunch of rubble on either side and sprinkle a liberal application of rocks on either side. Well, on one side. A liberal application of rocks on one side. When I made the rubble mixture, I actually mixed 3 different types of stone, but the hero of this mixture was some random wood shavings that Jazza had lying around from when he did a wood carving. These shavings just added so much texture into urban rubble that it made it work really well, and I kind of learned through doing this that to get these really good basing mixes, just shove heaps of things together. Build texture. It's all about texture. Now, a great artist once said, there's no mistakes, just happy little accidents. There's some cracks in the pavement that were unintentional, that just happened because of the roller pulling the putty and my inexperience. But those cracks just work perfectly for the like war-torn streets. And I embraced that by putting in weathering pigments and also little tufts to represent weeds pushing up through the concrete and life reclaiming this urban rubble.
Sick. And it's a perfect example of like how just a couple of these tufts actually makes a huge impact. All that delicious gluten. This is going to be great.
I'm going to eat this one with my hands.
I'm just going to eat this one like a muffin.
That's what I want to do. Oh god.
These are really good quality bases.
Look how good that will be for terrain, mate. I can
This is a lot of cake.
just for a video too. That is disgusting.
Next up on my agenda was a bit of a desert. I started with, first of all, trying to build up a bit of texture by using a lot of the cork stuff and mixing in the, again, that's the name of that stuff, that freaking the sculptor mold, thank you. And mixing in some color, laying that all down, spreading it all out. I wanted to have a little bit of extra fun, and Games Grass make these tiny little terrain pieces. They make some urban pieces, but they also make like ancient pieces. And these ones are like little ruins of like Colosseums, and like there's paving and there's like statue helmet things. It's amazing. So with those scattered throughout the terrain and with just some random little pops of cork just to add a little bit of that crumbled building texture throughout. Once that was dried, I just coated the whole thing in a sort of mid-dark earthy red and slowly built up by dry brushing towards a more sandy color. With my core colors down, this is where I played with pigments for my first time. Dave's had a bit of experimentation. It's been really cool to see how he's made projects pop with him. So I gave him a go, and because we are way over time in the production of this video, we started to get pretty desperate to try and make it all come together as fast as possible.
Heat guns were blasting.
Yeah, and speaking of blasting, I just blasted the whole thing with weathering pigment and just soaked it in airbrush editor. Probably not the way to do it, but by drying it, when it was done, it actually accidentally, again, another happy accident, made these like interesting textures and splotchy things. And like Dave was saying, it's all about texture. And it was almost there, but just felt empty and sparse. So I cracked out just a little bit more of that life and shrubbery.
So I started with sculptor mold all over this base, but the main thing was creating a large crescent moon shape with a leading edge, and that was the primary focus, was this sort of roll over, curled over ledge. I'd looked at some pictures of lava flows, and while I've seen lava bases, I've not really seen many bases that capture what lava really operates like in the real world. So to get the actual lava effect, I just painted a whole bunch of really rough splotched reds to get different textures and colors in there. And then I coated the whole thing in crackle medium. At this stage, we were really pressed for time, as Jazza said, and I hammered it with the heat gun. And honestly, I hammered it a little bit too much and I over dried the crackle medium. However, I didn't have time to go back. So I put the black top coat on and hit it with the heat gun again. And thankfully, some of the cracks came out and we got some of the crackle effect still, but what I didn't expect was that the popping and bubbling made it look awesome. The lava pops from the heat like actually look like real lava in those areas. They're my favorite bits of the lava flow.
We wouldn't have been able to get this project done in time without our heat guns, but also like in a weird way, the added texture of overusing the heat gun sort of helps.
Yeah, on the lava, absolutely. Yeah. To finish it out, I used a liberal amount of weathering pigments.
Oh, I feel like human garbage, but we made 4 great cake-based terrain pieces, which is fantastic. We were hoping to do 6, but I don't think they had cake. You went and checked it.
No, they were out of cake, especially gluten-free cake. All they had was these.
So we were gonna...
These are like cake boards or something. Was as close as I could get, but they didn't have any cake on them, so it wasn't.
I thought you had to buy the cake to get the cake boards.
No. You can buy them like at any supermarket.
You can buy cake boards?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate myself right now. But at least this video is way more approachable to people.
Yeah, they're not hard to get.
I thought I'd tackle a snow base, and I wanted to approach this in a way that would make a cool sort of base for like my space bears some point in the future, or if we have some cool like characters and that we're playing with snow effects on, that we could sort of do some turnarounds in. So aside from creating as much of an undulating mound as I could, piling up foam and all sorts to really get that height in there, I wanted to play with ice. This comes with a big asterisk because I poured UV resin in these fairly deep molds, and it worked to a degree. It took ages to cure, but I didn't use a separation liquid. So it took a lot of work and I barely extracted a few shards. The rest just destroyed the other molds. So that's, yep. That's called kinesthetic learning, people. So I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna see how icy and cold I can make this look. I'll use the icy shards I have and try and bring it all together. And I pummeled the whole thing with a Geek Gaming Scenics like snow stuff. It's just base ready snow powder. I have no idea if I use this in the right way. I have no idea if it's meant to mix with something or be sealed with something, and it probably is. I just threw it all on. I covered the whole thing, literally poured glue water all over the whole thing and just dumped it with the base ready snow powder. I am sorry, Luke, if I'm not representing your stuff very well. But you know what? I got snow all over it. I sprinkled a little bit of that Mediterranean base around it just to add a little bit of the look of grass trying to go through snow, and then finished it up with my shards of resin, which actually in place ended up looking really cool. There's a tying up thing by spreading some little rivers and cracks of super glue that ended up drying and creating a really cool sort of like frozen tundra look, like interconnecting throughout the piece. I really feel like that all tied everything together. So the piece de resistance of this whole video was in your hands, Dave.
Yes, the final piece. We had 5 bases of cumulative experience to really put together the best terrain we could. So I produced Candyland. I began by building the house of the jelly people by
I love your storyteller voice. Keep going.
I began by building the house of the jelly people, which was created by stacking delicious licorice all sort things on top of each other and then squirting liberal amounts of hot glue. I then glued strawberry and cream straps down as a sort of a pavement or a decking for this lovely house. I then made a roof out of licorice, which, in my personal opinion, is probably the best use of licorice I could think of. Then I got to have the most fun on this whole project because I just started whacking marshmallows on the base and melting them with a hot glue gun. I really like the weird like marshmallow forest thing that just turned into weird rocks, but the way that it burnt and crackled just looked cool.
You also ate a lot of large marshmallows.
I did. I was in...
How do you feel at the end of the project?
I feel kind of sick.
Yeah, okay.
For the finishing touches, I made trees using spearmint leaves and shrubs with spearmint leaves. And then I set about putting little jelly babies. And if you're eagle-eyed, you can see one is having a piddle in the bush.
Hey, look at that. We've actually got a nice, like everything is so vastly different for better or worse.
Which theme would you like to see a full gaming board done with?
Let us know in the comments, and if this video gets 20,000
That's good, that's big
likes,
and ambitious. I like it.
Reachable.
We'll make
This video gets 20,000 likes. We will make a gaming board on the top comment that is one of these.
Yep.
So go vote on your favorite thing. Let us know your favorite thing.
So should we
Hit
categorize
like,
that?
Smash like.
Should we just, for clarity, so we got lava base?
Yep, let's call this Lush Countryside.
Candyland.
Cityscape. Snow base.
And desert. I mean desert. Sorry, I'm getting confused.
Otherwise, that is it for this video. Well, I had so much fun with this concept. And I feel like it'll be fun to have these to do turnarounds on. Thank you to patrons for supporting us so we can get all the things to do these things. Thank you for Gamers Grass for sponsoring this wonderful video, making all these bases pop. And thank you to you for watching. And thank you to Dave for bringing lollies into work today. And cake. Oh yeah, remember all that cake we ate?
I don't ever want to eat cake again in my life.
Trying to think of the food pun to end the video on. Tabletop time, more like dinner table time. All right, I'll go.